Now, when the Prime Minister unveiled his and Priti Patel's plan to ship folk to Rwanda who'd arrived here on small boats or in the back of lorries seeking asylum or just a better life, it was greeted by a cacophony of condemnation from opposition leaders via the voluntary groups working in the sector to one or two Liberal Conservatives. The plans were condemned as inhumane, unworkable, rather expensive and nothing more than a dead cat ploy to distract from the Prime Minister's other difficulties like receiving a fixed penalty notice over a breach of the COVID rules. The media were pretty united in their condemnation too. Newspapers who are of course free to be transparently partisan, but also most of the broadcast media who frankly should know better. But few, if any, serious alternatives were offered. Now, is that because the opposition parties don't have an alternative plan or don't accept that this has become a real problem? A couple of old friends of mine, Mark Seddon, the former editor of Tribune, Labour-supporting magazine, and Kate Hoey, a former Labour MP and minister, said they'd been warning Labour for years that this was an issue that needed addressing. So today, that's exactly what I'm going to do. And I'm delighted to be joined by a former Lib Dem Home Office minister, a couple of former Tory ministers, and a senior Guardian political correspondent to examine what the opposition and the media are up to. A Tory government with a majority just short of 80 is not a dictatorship, whatever you may have read or heard. But a government with no real, thoughtful or constructive opposition is much more dangerous. My fear is that that is where we are right now. Also this afternoon, as Ukraine seems to have slipped into a frightening waiting game with Putin determined, it seems, to score some sort of victory, however bloody, by the great celebration day of May the 9th, I'll be talking to a man who really does know his stuff. Retired Rear Admiral Chris Parry, former NATO commander and former Ministry of Defence Director General. But as always, I want to hear your thoughts on Rwanda, the state of the opposition parties, the newspapers, the broadcasters, and yes, on Ukraine. Email us, gbviews@gbnews.uk, or tweet us on GBNews, or you can tweet me direct.